touches are being put across the three states. I'll introduce my guests now. I have Mr. Joseph Akujobi. He's a communications coordinator at Step Up Nigeria. I also have Oluwatomisin Adebukola. She's a broadcast journalist and a policy analyst. We have Dr. Law Mefo, policy analyst and social scientist, and they all will be doing justice to the matter at hand today. Welcome to the program.
Thank you.
Good afternoon.
It's a pleasure.
All right, so let's start with you, Dr. Law, just to get into it. We'll start with Imo State, so that we can, separate the three states today and get into it specifically. What are your thoughts leading up to the election, particularly with the background of the state? Governor Hope Uzodinma has, that tag about being, assuming office through a Supreme Court judgment, and this probably will be his first chance since then to prove his popularity beyond doubt. We have the issue of zoning, where the Olu zone, we have Olu, Owerri, and Okigwe, but Olu zone has for 20 years since 1919 been in power. And if Governor Hope Uzodinma wins, that's about 24 years. What's your take on the general background before we delve into specifics?
Yes, thank you once more for hosting us. Essentially, Hope Uzodinma, His Excellency, we must give him that, became the governor under some of the most controversial circumstances in history in Nigeria. And the issue is rather overflowed, and the Supreme Court of Nigeria has taken all the battering for it, self-inflicted injury, because for me, it remains the lowest ebb for the apex court. What I believe till today they ought to have done was to order a rerun, or a runoff in the 388 polling unit cancelled result or areas. Because I had somebody say 3,000 something on your montage. I don't think that figure is correct. Because the entire polling units in Imo State as at 2019 was 3,523. So you couldn't have cancelled 3,000 plus. It's not possible. What was actually cancelled was 388, if I'm not mistaken. That said, if you record the figures with which Emeki Hedioha placed first and Hope Uzodinma placed fourth, you would see why people questioned the judgment of the Supreme Court, read out anonymously by Justice Kekere Ekom. I think that was the person that read the judgment. Emeki Hedioha was leading or led in that election with 273,000 votes to place first, followed by one other. I don't know whether it's Wosu or who now, but Hope Uzodinma placed fourth with 96,000 votes. The margin is nearly well over 150,000, and that covered well over 3,000 polling units. So you cannot, upturn, if you check the ratio, the margin of a win, between Emeki Hedioha and Hope that came forth. There is no way you can statistically alter that figure and place Hope ahead of Emeki Hedioha based on a polling unit results in 388 polling units. It's not possible statistically. Yeah, because here you are talking about the percentage turnout. You are talking about margin of victory, and of course, so many things will go into it. And that was why the Supreme Court didn't want to offer any figures that they base their judgment on. That said, everybody is aware that Hope's victory was not quite tidy.
So he has a lot to prove
so
this time around.
he has to prove that indeed, even if the other one was in doubt, that this time around, that he has won free and fair and square. Okay, that said, the build-up is not looking good. If you look at what has happened with even the labor, the molestation, the battery, faced by Joe Ajaero, the national president of NLC, it's not good at all. It's not looking good. And Hope is saying that Ajaero is playing politics as a member of Labour Party, and therefore the protest is a campaign for Labour and it's a candidate. However you look at it, that even if it were, and he's there to do a campaign for his political party and their candidate, that still does not justify the brutality he was subjected on that. And you can see what is going on. Now you can't even fly to Owerri and back now, as it is. What that means is that all the people that are scheduled to enter Owerri by air may not be able to do so, including those who have official duties to play. Because as at yesterday, Abuja Airport was practically shut down, and there was no single flight that went over. I'm not sure they went today. So what I'm trying to say is that you have a very unfortunate scenario that ought to have been better. Election is a civil duty. It's not a do or die affair. And those who are in charge of election security, I don't know if they are really on top of the situation. The IGP, Wotekon, has redeployed CP Barde from Owerri, to somewhere else. I don't know where, but I know that I think CP Danjuma is the one that is in Imo State now. Well, that's for some updates. That looks good. Do you understand what I'm saying? But they need to go beyond all that. The process appears too militarized. People, if this may have a collateral consequence, that may play out in form of apathy and not encouraging enough Imolites to come out and exercise their franchise.
All right,
so that's just my fear for now.
I can see that. Let's let Madam Adebukola get into the conversation. I'd just like to add that the Governor Hope Uzodinma, has, for lack of a better word, apologized for the incidents where he said he wasn't aware, and he feels regret on behalf of his government that such should happen at this point in time. So let's talk about that issue, the NLC matter, and the impact it could have on this election going forward. What would you say, we can expect? I was speaking to a representative of the NLC just a day ago, and their point of view is that because election is right around the corner, the governor has to be more receptive to their demands or to the plight of the people they are fighting for. So how do you see this playing out? Like Dr. Law pointed out, persons who were meant to fly into Imo State, I'm not sure what their fate is at the moment. So how do you see this, affecting the dynamic of the election in the states?
All right, thank you very much.
I'm so sorry, Madam
Tomisi is my name, actually.
Yes, please, just a moment. Our phone lines are open, so you can call in to ask questions or make your contributions. Okay, go ahead, please.
All right. Thank you so much, Hamadine. And Dr. Law has given us quite a background. You see, I'm always of the opinion that when we weaponize poverty, we get results like this. Labor is no longer plain labor, from my perspective. Labor is weaponizing their demands. They were planning for a strike action.
November 14th.
Just a couple of days to come. Meanwhile, we have elections. You're putting a whole lot of pressure on the people. You are creating more tension intentionally. And let's not forget the fact that the 2023 general elections had already proven Labour to be partisan, whether we like it or not. I mean, there's a Labour Party about participation in political sphere in other parts of the country, in other parts of the world, I mean. In the United Kingdom, the Labour also contested for election. They participate. They have members in the House of Lords. They have, they participate basically. And because they participate, they do not participate as a party, but they have a stake in governance, so they do participate. I remember when Boris Johnson was contesting to and all that, they were there contesting as well. They've always had a say across the world. Now, when it comes to Nigeria, there is a party called Labour Party that automatically absorbed our Labour Congress, which now changed the dynamics. Now there is a party and there is a Congress. When they went for all out to pitch their tents and then publicly pronounce their support for a particular candidate of another party, it's done. It means the Nigerian Labour Congress is either a member of that party or they are directly contesting that election. So now, it looks as if Governor Hope Uzodinma is on one end and Joe Ajaero is the opponent, as it were. Two men from the same area, from the same state, titans in this election. As a matter of fact, a lot of people don't even know the name of the person contesting on the platform of the Labour Party in Imo State. They know Joe Ajaero, however. He was attacked. That is wrong on all fronts. And I think the governor should have even apologized much earlier, because it takes responsibility as the chief security officer of a state as to whatever happened there. It should take responsibility for that. And then, I mean, concrete action should have been taken to say, oh, we've tried fishing out these people, we've tried this, we've tried that, so that the speculations will not come. But the speculations are here, and the election is just tomorrow. So everything that is happening over there right now, Labour has their demands. They are using this opportunity. Hope Uzodinma cannot come out and say, if you people vote for me, I will grant all your demands. I can also see what Labour is putting forward as saying that this is part of our manifesto. These are the things that we will do. So you either dance to our tune so that you can get a second term in office, or we will be doing this if we win this election. So the way I see it is a contest between NLC in Imo State and Hope Uzodinma. We're not even hearing the names of I mean, there are other political parties contesting this election, but we're not hearing it. This has already changed everything. Security has become a problem for Joe Ajaero to have been attacked like that. Already tells us that there is a lot. I heard Hope Uzodinma saying that politically charged security situation. And let's not forget that there is an active security situation in the southeast. Whether we like it or not, it is active. And Nigeria has not forgotten. The other day I was planning to travel to Owerri, and my friend was saying, you can do road from. I said, did you say road? Like, did you just say? That's how scared I am. So we have an active security situation there that has just been made complex by this particular attack, because then you now have those who are supporting the governor on one end and those who are supporting the Labour Party and the Nigerian Labour Congress on another end. Whether we like it or not, the police would have to do a whole lot to arrest the situation in Imo tomorrow, or else it's going to escalate.
Well, how different do you think this could have gone? Because when you speak to Labour Congress, they say that their demands there were to protest for the 3,000 persons they say were sacked. They were to protest for pensioners who were not getting their pensions, and that they weren't there politically. As a matter of fact, the the president of the Motorcycle Operators Union of Nigeria, which is under the Labour Congress, while I was speaking to him, he admitted that he himself is an APC member, and that they didn't go there for anything
other than
partisan. Yeah. So is it a misunderstanding, or because of what happened in the general elections, we're going to be seeing this going forward?
I said that they've weaponized it. See,
the
I could have picked a better time to do my protests or to place my demands. 3 months away, 2 months away, 1 month from the elections, and then why not 2 weeks after the election, or why not even a day after the election? Why not Monday morning? I mean, the election is Saturday. Monday morning, you can start your protest. You can pick a better time. So there is no way you can misinterpret or interpret this and say one has nothing to do with the other. The truth is, what they were fighting for has still not been granted. It is not time-bound. Those demands are not time-bound. Those demands will still take them to the table. They're still going to have to discuss it. It's going to take a process. So can we just do better timing, really, when it comes to issues? We can always discuss things and separate issues. We know we're going to do politics because we have a candidate in the election. Okay, so we will bring our demands after we have beaten you silly. After all, you have a couple of days more to do. If you're beaten in the election and our candidate is taking over, we're still going to have the opportunity to come to the table with you and actually discuss this after the election is concluded. Or we do it way before we get to that election period so that there will be no mixed signals. There will be no mixed message. As long as you have a candidate in the election, whether you belong to this party or this party, it complicates the matter. And that's what I'm saying here. It's complicated already. There is nothing they want to say that will make it better because they are no longer campaigning. Tomorrow is the election. We can only appeal to the people of Imo State to, irrespective of what has happened, go out there, vote their conscience, and please stay safe.
Thank you so much, Thomason, for that. Bringing that angle in, it is something to consider. I believe it was also taken, according to their explanation, as sort of bargaining. Well, he's seeking re-election.
So you see?
He might be more susceptible to answer.
It was politics.
But they say, their explanation is that they had in their interest the 3,000 persons and the pensioners. But that's something that they would have to defend on their own. So let's move on now quickly to Joseph. Well, you're from CSO, so you have sort of a view of these things in terms of that neutrality. You see everyone doing everything, pretty much everyone here, really. But that being said, how would you rate the preparedness for this and based on how you've monitored or seen previous elections, what are your expectations for Imo State in particular, and how you think the monitoring specifically will go?
Well, thank you for having me. And first of all, coming from civil society groups or angle rather, one of the things we've noticed in our own election, in this country, is the facade that we are prepared, the mirage that we are prepared, we are ready for this. And then when the process starts, you see zero readiness. You now notice that, oh, you actually are not ready for this election. And from everything we've observed from our own end, we won't be surprised if come election day, election materials arrive late at polling units and security operatives are not on ground to protect or secure the lives and property of Nigerians on election day. And this is one core issue that I think INEC and security operatives should do better. Because looking at the statistics is not pretty. We already know in the south, in the southern region of Nigeria, election is quite very, very violent. It can get very violent quickly. We've seen that in places like Imo State in previous years, in previous elections. We've seen that in Bayelsa. We've seen that in Rivers. And we're saying we can't have a repeat of this violent conduct during election because that affects voters' turnout at the end of the day, because nobody wants to go out healthy with complete limbs and then coming back maimed because of an election. So that is one key area I still feel a whole lot should be done. The preparedness is, I won't say zero, it will not be fair to them, but a whole lot can be done in making sure that lives and properties are protected.
Are you referring now to INEC or security operatives?
On both angles, basically. Because on INEC's side, there will be late arrival of materials in this election. There will be. There will be late arrival of materials.
You're sure of it?
I'm 90% sure of it. You will see. You see. That's what I'm saying. The preparedness of INEC. It has a way of affecting. We've seen that in previous elections. We've seen this type of low preparedness, poor preparedness from INEC since 2007. It's not something that is new to them, but it is something we, as civil society groups, have expected that INEC would have improved on. Basically, they would have done more to better prepare themselves. We've also seen security operatives show up to polling units late, or show up to polling units and basically not doing their job. What they end up doing is helping political parties coerce voters to vote for them. They don't secure polling units as they should. We saw that in the presidential election this year. We saw that in gubernatorial elections this year through our first-time voters initiative. We saw when we came on ground, we saw a whole lot of security operatives just strolling around the polling units, and you're trying to call their attention to maybe something that shouldn't be done during the election, where people are crowding the INEC officials. They are demanding for stuff they shouldn't be demanding for, and you expect security operatives to, push this crowd back and kind of protect INEC officials. But you just see them standing there, and they are like, no, they should continue what they are doing. No problem.
All right. Not to speak for INEC, we might have to give them a little bit of benefit of doubt, till it happens. But speaking about, INEC being neutral, in the chairman's message, I'm talking about Mr. Mahmoud, Professor Mahmoud Yakubu. Just a moment, we have a call coming in, so let's take this call before I complete my question. Hello. Hello, can you hear me? Hello, can you hear me? All right, please call back, and when you do pay attention. I was speaking about neutrality. I guess these are part of the issues that made the INEC chairman actually release a message to say that we don't have a candidate in the elections. That's not something he would need to say normally, but then he had to clear the air. But there's an issue particularly that one of your fellow CSOs, talking about Yaga Africa, came out recently. He made a point that I was interested in. I don't know if you're aware, in recently some INEC commissioners or so were recommended by the president, and some of these persons were traced to have certain ties with the APC or the Senate president and so on and so forth. And so, as usual, CSO started speaking out. This person should be vetted and so on. And what Mr. Samson Itodo said was that, why is it always CSOs talking? Because that's the National Assembly. The APC has the majority. Allowing people who might have ties to APC just possibly gives the APC more chance for more majority. But the PDP members, the Labour Party members, the SDP members, all of them, they don't usually voice any sort of protest. But now, taking it back to Imo State, the PDP have called out Professor Sylvia Agu and said that she should be removed as the officer that she has plans to rig and so on and so forth. So I'd like to get your thoughts as to how best you think this neutrality can be achieved, and what should happen when this, will I call it, agitations are being made by CSOs and others?
I think, first of all, it's important to note that for we as a country, it's not enough that a particular group of people is always voicing out when certain irregularities are happening in our system. You'd expect that a whole lot of groups or a whole lot of individuals should lend out their voice to things like this. Speaking to the neutrality that you would expect INEC to have, we have a system in Nigeria where during elections, vice chancellors are called up to serve as returning officers during elections. And you would expect that to kind of continue into elections like this, because in a way, I would say they represent some form of neutrality, basically, because some of them, if not most of them, are not pledged to a particular political party. So it gives a sense of neutrality, gives a sense of I'm not for you or against you. But at the same time, we have a situation where until the election happens and results are called, everybody's compromised. Everybody's compromised in the sense that interested parties are saying, oh, you are compromised because you look like you won't favor me, or you look like you're representing, or you're going to stand for this other group of people. And that's what we're seeing now, where in Imo State, everybody's pointing fingers. Oh, this lady is going to, she's not going to stand for us. Well, we in the civil society, we want the election to happen. We want to rate their performances. You won't call somebody bad or, completely rule them out because of your own sentiment. Let the action happen. Let them carry out their responsibility. It is in carrying out their responsibility we can now rate them. We can now observe the process. We can now observe them carrying out their responsibility.
All right, Joseph. We're calling in now from a correspondent in Imo State. Victoria, can you hear me?
Hello, Amadi. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. How's Imo State?
Well, Imo State is great. Currently, there is heavy rain for Imo State, where I am precisely. That's great.
All right. How would you observe the state of things as preparedness for the election and, let's also say, the security aspects?
Okay. The security aspect has been the major focus over time. Since my arrival, I personally have had to experience some security measures being put in place. On my way to Owerri, we saw some barricades, roadblocks, and security personnel checking passengers, vehicles, and the like. And of course, to Owerri State, Owerri, I beg your pardon, we have to turn over back through to another road because they're trying to protect perhaps the INEC office ahead. So far, I'll say the security measure put in place is kind of commendable for now. And recall that the Commission said it has received assurances from security agencies that the environment will be secure for electoral activities. So we're hoping that election in the polling units tomorrow will be secured and everyone will be safe. For the security, there are measures put in place. If you come to Imo State, especially in Owerri, which I am in currently, you'll see that for yourself.
All right. What about INEC itself? I know usually journalists are allowed to see some level of preparedness hours before the election. Have you had the opportunity to see any of that yet?
Okay, so I arrived late yesterday, but this morning I went to the INEC office, and yes, we were allowed to see. Aside from that, we visited the polling unit and logistics. According to the deputy director, she had said that all the logistics have been put in place, including NURTW. She made reference of the last experience they had with NURTW because they refused to move because their money were not paid in full. At that period, there was a cash issue. But currently, that all the money required by the NURTW have been paid, and for other sensitive and non-sensitive materials have been deployed to the registration centers.
All right, thank you very much, Victoria, for the updates. We'll call further.
It's also interested to know
All right.
that the state has about 27 local government areas and also 4,758 polling units, and out of which 38 polling units will not experience elections. This is just simply because there was no registered voters in that those polling units. And yes, registered voters, we have about 2,419,922, but only 2,318,992, 919, I beg your pardon, CVCs were collected.
All right, so that's interesting. Thank you for that information there. And I wonder what it speaks to in terms of participation. But thank you so much, Victoria. We'll be calling further for updates later on and perhaps tomorrow. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Stay safe. All right. Yeah. While Mr. Joseph was talking, I believe Thomason had something to say. So I'll let you speak now as regards what we were talking about already and also the information she brought now. What do you think about participation? We know that the Southeast, have peculiar issues in terms of the Monday sit-at-homes and the proscribed group there, which basically encourages apathy. This is not,
Sure.
and so on and so forth. So, what would you say for participation going forward?
Thank you very much. While my colleague here was talking about the non-partisan, the non-partisanship of our professors, I think every Nigerian is partisan. And I think every human being is partisan. It's just simple. You have a political affiliation, either by membership, or simply because before you participate in an election, you must have an idea of who or what you want to vote for, which means you're participating. That's basically partisanship. Now, history has also told us that our so-called professors are not as non-partisan as we thought. It's not the first time. 2003, 2007, if I'm very correct, some professors were jailed, some were sent to prison, some had to face the law simply because they were the ones used and, to aid election buying is not the point here. Election result manipulation. We've had, was it in Akwa Ibom? I think Dr. Lord has a bit of a history.
Yeah, Akwa Ibom.
Akwa Ibom,
Yeah.
just this last 2019 election, where after the election results had been announced, a particular professor, what I usually watch out for, when we had the fainting professor at NDDC, it was the height for me. For me, I think we need to look beyond the ills in the educational sector, especially in the university system. Tells me don't go there. Don't even go there when you're picking anybody. Because
What other options are there?
oh, what other options? What about you? What other options? What about the so-called people that we have been given MFRO, GC, this one, ON? Are we not picking those people? Because I think if we begin to pick people who have something at stake, who have some reputation, that they've worked hard, and trust me, being a professor for 30 years in this country is not enough reputation to put on the line. They don't mind.
Why not?
Because history has told us. I'm not talking for me. I'm talking about things that we have seen. A professor raping, abusing. There is so much rot in our educational system. So I'm not interested in any of them being picked. How will you begin to probe him? How many months will it take you to begin to dig and dig and dig to find out if he has eels and cockroaches and rats in his cupboard? Pick people who have something to lose. Simple. And if we're going to pick people who have something to lose, we're not going to import people from outside of Nigeria to come and help us administer. All their job is just to sit, collect the results, add it together, and then announce it. We have had sweating ones, fainting ones, the ones who needed glasses suddenly, the ones who are not. We've had too many.
But we had ones
ills.
who stood their ground in the face
And
of
that's the point.
opposition
We
too.
have those who did, and we had those. Remember the one in Imo State? Was it not in Imo the last time when someone said, I was told to announce like this and raised his hand? Was it not Senator Rochas Okorocha's election?
Yeah.
So, see, the point I'm trying to make here is, if they say they doubt the integrity of this person, INEC should have a retinue of people that they can easily pick from. The same way the IGP decides to reshuffle. Reshuffle. Retired vice chancellors, maybe. In fact, retired governors who had good record, maybe. People who have
Did you say
said,
retired governors?
yes, retired. Some.
Okay, that would be clearly partisan, don't you think?
Are you not partisan? Didn't you vote in the last election? Maybe you were in the studio, but are you not partisan? I'm coming from the background of saying every Nigerian is partisan as long as you're eligible to vote. In fact, my 8-year-old is partisan. Because even though my 8-year-old does not have the capacity to vote yet, he has an idea, because from his school during the last election, somehow the candidate of their proprietor was preached to the children. And the children came home to say, Mommy, this is the person you should vote for. You get how we transfer partisanship to even our children. It's only the children who can't speak yet that are safe from us in this country. So coming back to the fact that 2 million people are registered, I was just smiling because the last general elections, the presidential election, the total number of votes cast in Imo State was not up to 500,000. Am I correct, sir?
About that.
2 million voters cards, 500,000.
So there's an apathy or a participation issue.
There is an apathy, whether we like it or not. And it's everywhere across Nigeria. It is not peculiar to any of the states that are currently going to be running their elections tomorrow. Kogi State has about 1.9 million registered voters. And in the last election, about 600 and something thousand people voted. That's barely up to 40%. Kogi, 2 million, a whooping 2 million, about 500,000. And then you're looking at Bayelsa State, which is even much, much less. Bayelsa is about 1 million and something million people who are registered.
1,056,862.
Who are registered to vote, who have voters' cards. How many voted in the last election? So when you look at the results, the total number of votes in these areas, in the 3 states in the last election, was not up to 1.5 million. The 3 states who are contesting this election. Meanwhile, they have registered voters that are about 5 million people. So voter apathy is already there. Don't forget that the economic situation would also make some people just stay at home. Some people are just too hungry to think about coming out to come and vote. They're like, what's my business? I'm looking for food. You're talking about. So that's why platforms like this, we can plead with them and say, please, if you do not participate, then you have no right to complain. As long as you have a voter's card, please come out tomorrow and cast your vote in the direction of your conscience. Just cast your vote. It doesn't take more than a few minutes. And then we'll beg the security agencies, whom Oga has already said, are not particularly, or INEC. Aren't you wondering? Aren't you wondering? INEC's materials are already at Central Bank. As of today, they have been distributed from Central Bank. They are already in the local government. Aren't you wondering why it takes INEC more time than necessary to take the materials from the local government to the voting units? The last election, my particular unit, my polling unit particularly, we started voting at about 11. That was when they arrived. The polling units before mine, about 5 of them in a single school in Lagos, one did not arrive until like 2 p.m. in the same school. One unit didn't arrive until like 2 p.m. Meanwhile, the other 4 had finished voting, counting, and the people in that polling unit, trust people wanted to participate. So this was how they were seated, waiting patiently for that particular material, for those materials to arrive. So if INEC can assure us they've paid, according to your correspondence, they've paid NURTW, so we know that they will not claim tomorrow that it was NURTW. What then will be the reason why they should delay? They should please disappoint our colleague here and go
All
on
right,
time.
truly, I believe he would even welcome that disappointment.
course,
It's
of
for the
course.
good of the people. All right, Dr. Law, just to round off this segment on Imo State, I'd like to get your final statements as regards. I'd like you to delve into the political aspect now. I believe we've been delving a little bit with the electoral. So we have someone who has been, styled the one-armed general now. Speaking about Senator Achono. We have Governor Hope Uzodimma. We have the PDP former National Secretary, and Anyanwu. These persons it's seen as a three-horse race.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on how this could turn out?
Yeah, well, I think essentially, we don't expect angels to come and run this election for us. And that is why many of us insist on the laws and the institution. If the laws are allowed to play out fully and conclusively, the laws, setting out the functions of INEC, what INEC ought to do. We just have to prevail on INEC to do its work according to the law. I'm not expecting that much good will come out of Mahmood, even if he wants to. And I don't think that is what we should rely on. We shouldn't rely on the promises of Professor Mahmood and INEC officials. Man will always disappoint you. Let them do their work according to the law. Simple. I will always say it. The Electoral Act is very clear on this. Section 64, subsection 4, collect result, announce result, subject to verification and confirmation of results uploaded from the polling units. If they don't do this, forget the outcome. They will announce who they want.
What if we have glitches? Or
there will be no
network?
glitches. Listen, you see, let me tell you my understanding of beavers. If you look at the way your WhatsApp operates, right? If you send a message on your WhatsApp where there is no network, it will not go. But once you emerge anywhere there is network, the message will go without you prompting it any further. That is how beavers works. In the last general election, you would see that beavers worked perfectly up to 90% across Nigeria. 90% is excellence in any exam anywhere in the world. Let them allow beavers to work. Verification and authentication of voters to be sure that there is no voting by proxy. If they do that, count the results there, enter the results into your Form EC8A, and give it to polling unit party agents. Upload a copy from there to IREV, INEC viewing portal. Just upload. Then carry the physical result. Even if they collect it on the road, no problem, forget it. You have already uploaded. Subsection 5 or either 7 says that where there is a disparity between the uploaded result and the physical result, the one uploaded takes precedence. That's all we want. We don't want the goodness of Professor Mahmood. We don't need it. Let him not, let him keep his angelic life to himself. Let him simply upload the results from all the polling units. And where uploading of result is not possible or is not allowed because of violence or because of whatever, there should be no collation of results until the uploading is becomes or is made possible. That is all we need in this election. That said, you called it a 3-horse race. Yeah, well,
Possibly. That
is what it ought to be, because the 3 candidates you mentioned, Achonu, the candidate of the Labour Party, Sam Dadi, National Secretary of the PDP, that is the flag bearer of PDP in Imo, right? And then, of course, the incumbent Hope Uzodinma. They are no small fries at all. They are big. Each of them has the potential of winning this election. All I think is left is for the 2 institutions statutorily charged to deliver free, fair election comparable to any election you can find anywhere in the world to do their job. And that is the police and INEC. The police is too partisan. Police, Nigeria police, too partisan. We have seen them pander to incumbents, to government, federal and state. It's as if there is this unspoken convention that the police must help the incumbent, order from the above. And there is a reason for it.
All right, Dr. Lo, just hold that thought. Let's hear from one of our callers. They've been calling for a while now. Good afternoon. You're on to our town hall session on the off-cycle elections. What's your name and where are you calling from? Can you hear me? We lost that call.
The point I'm making is there seems to be this unspoken convention that the police would pander to the whims of the incumbent at national and at the state. This has been the trend. So when Obotekun removed the Barde as CP, well, for me, it's good for optics. But that is not the issue here. Where election is rigged in Nigeria, if you have been in the field, election is rigged. Not even, when we talked about professors announcing results, the professors don't even feature where elections are rigged. Elections are rigged at the ward collation centers. That is the first level of collation. When you move from EC8A, from the polling units after announcement to the forward collation center, that is not where the professors operate. The professors operate at local government and at state levels, at the federal level. Where you have to pay attention is at the polling units, at the wards. That is where the evil against our elections is committed. If you pay attention to that point, that's why I keep saying upload the result. Because once you upload the result, you have taken care of up to 50% of the shenanigans.
Yes.
Then you follow through to the ward collation centers. Experience has shown that Nigeria police in charge of election security will not even allow some party agents to be allowed into the ward collation centers. Is that not direct rigging? When you don't allow a party agent to witness collation of results, what have you done? So the IG of police will ask himself a simple question. Does he want free and fair election? It's in his hands. Do you understand that? Because he is the one that will call his men and say, look, my friend, do your job. And if you derail, I have you sacked. Has he made that threat? 2023 general elections, we have more than 250 people that ought to be tried by now. How many of them are being tried? Because of election manipulations, breaches, security breaches in these concluded elections. If they didn't do anything about those who committed clear infractions, manipulations, election breaches, brigandage, some even killed fellow Nigerians in this election. Some of them were arrested. Till today, they've not been charged to court. What is INEC? What does INEC mean by that? What does the police mean by that? INEC has prosecutorial powers. INEC should prosecute such people, even if the police is reluctant. The INEC has the power to prosecute.
All right,
Now,
Dr. No, just for the sake of time, I don't know if you can clarify one part before we move on. Based on the judicial processes we've seen and how a lot of these elections have ended up in court, are you still very, confident in the power of IREV in terms of what it can do after the election? Because the Supreme Court, even all the way from Osun State, they've not placed as much a precedence or an importance on IREV. They don't, it doesn't seem to take...
Is it IREV? It's because INEC didn't want to obey Section 64, subsection 4 of the Electoral Act 2022 and paragraph 137 of INEC Guideline 2022. INEC deliberately shunned that. If they do, we'll have this level of litigations. They are the ones that shut down the IREV during the collation process of the presidential election. It was deliberate. It was not as a result of a glitch. That's the fact. The point is, there are very critical elections that were obtained based on from EC8A. And that's why I keep talking about it. Upload from EC8A, from the polling units, because that is the first line of results authenticated by INEC itself. And that is the point where the party agents, candidate agents, collect their own copy of the results, which will now enable them, the political party and their candidates, to sit down and collate.
All right, so Dr. Lo, for the sake of time, we run out of time now. I will go on a very quick break, and when we return, we'll delve into the next state on the agenda, Kogi State. So we'll go on a break now. When we return, we'll delve into matters of Kogi State. Stay with us. We'll be right back.